It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the Q.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom. From movies, comics, TV shows, video games, we got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, this episode was originally going to be a Mission Impossible episode, and then.
You know how we joke about there's never any news? They said, here's every single piece of news.
This happens all the time. It happens all the time like this. There can go weeks on end where there's like one or two things that notably happen, and then weeks like this week where a billion things happen, and we have to change our plan. So we are still going to do the Mission Impossible review. It's just going to be separate from this episode that you're listening to now. You can look forward to that. This weekend is when we'll release the Mission Impossible review. Quick, just spoiler-free review in 2 words or less. It's good.
Yeah, it's great. It is.
It's real good.
It's the summer blockbuster that you would want in terms of quality.
Yeah.
So hats off to Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie and team.
Yeah, so we'll dive into Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 later this weekend. Probably on Saturday is when you'll see that episode hit the feed. But today, we're going to talk about all the news culminating in the two, I guess you can call them, cornerstone comic book movie news reveals of the week. We got a bunch of stuff around Deadpool 3 and a lot of implications, I think, coming off of that. Like, what exactly... I mean, we're getting a ton of stuff revealed to us. So, I mean, honestly, if you don't want to know anything about Deadpool 3, maybe skip past that bit because it's going to be a lot of, set photo stuff and, leaked imagery and reporting on people that have signed on, that are officially signed on for the cast, and the implications of all that. And I mean, ultimately, what's going to happen with this Deadpool movie? Because I feel like Deadpool. We'll talk about it. I was going to say how Deadpool feels uniquely equipped to tackle the multiversal fatigue that could be setting in, but I think Deadpool is uniquely equipped to attack that in a smart way. At least I hope. That's my hope for this. So yeah, we'll talk about that, and then just a slew of Superman legacy casting that we're going to talk about also at the end of this episode. That's going to be our two big cornerstone pieces that we're going to talk about. But first, we do have a bunch of other news, starting with, unfortunately, a lot of real-life circumstances surrounding the writer's strike that is ongoing, and now an actor's strike that is kicking up. And, the battle lines are drawn. It's working people and writers and actors versus the corporations from which they work.
Right.
As with all things strike related, obviously the two sides are no closer to any type of agreement than they were, while the writer's strike was also starting. Right. So,
I mean, it's simple. You got to feel for the writers and the actors, and I mean, you're not getting anywhere off the ground without the writers, and you're not personifying anything without these actors. So it's a very simple situation where these people just want to try to provide livings. I mean, the three things that you're going after essentially is pay is number one. You want to make sure they're fairly compensated. The two last things are actually super important for the modern day and age. And this is the thing why I don't think it's settled. I think if this was just a money issue, they would have came closer. But the last two pieces are AI is one of the big ones of where people are getting a little scared, because now, somebody can just go on their computer and, just recreate your likeness, your voice, anything like that. I mean, Ice Cube had that video like 2 weeks ago where he's talking about it, and it's like, it is like a scary thing that and it's funny that Mission Impossible is what Mission Impossible is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, just this idea that, computer generated likeness is just now commonplace. Like, somebody said it in a review I watched for Mission Impossible, that they said, if you made this Mission Impossible movie 15 years ago, it would have been a sci-fi movie, but now it's just real. Like, this is now just abundantly real. So the generation of people's likeness is just something to not be played with, in my opinion, and I hope they get that correct. And then the other thing is the residuals from the streamers is the big thing that they want too, is they want to get more money for, all the stuff they're doing on these streaming services like Amazon Prime, Paramount, Disney Plus, things like that. So hopefully they get all three of those. I mean, I'm on their side. I'm very inclined not to be on their side. You probably couldn't find me a person, that's not an executive that wouldn't be on the side of the writers and being on the side of the actors.
Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously when this type of stuff kind of hits the, hits the news, you have to be kind of wary of where the sourcing is coming from. But, apparently on the corporation side, they're drawing a pretty hard line, with this situation in the sense that, they're more than willing to lay this out until, people are losing jobs, losing housing.
That was one of the
described.
craziest statements that I'd heard. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hardball, man. That's what this type of thing comes down to. And I know people must be thinking like, well, how can you starve out somebody that much that they're losing housing in the industry that they work in? Like, you have to realize, like, not everyone is making top dollar
right.
in this industry.
Exactly.
Like, there are people that are literally getting by from job to job.
I would say it's probably the majority of the people are probably doing job to job, especially, the writers are the big ones where you're really trying to, moonlight yourself from project to project. And, it's almost like being an athlete. Like, people think that, like, we look at pro athletes and it's just like, there's so many of them. There's only like, a fraction of the people in the entire face of the earth that are like in the NBA or in the NFL. You just think it's a lot because there's so many teams and so many players on these teams. It's like, it's minimalistic for, your top of the top line directors. Let's just take Michael Waldron, because he's been a name that's a writer that's been, prominent in the last couple of months here. So somebody like that's like a known writer. He's gonna get work no matter what. But like, you take a lot of these writers, it's just, they're trying to just get on a project. And, the thing that doesn't really equate is if there's so much more projects being had and some of them are still struggling to get on these projects, it does feel like the industries are putting certain people in certain places to make sure certain people are keeping on working. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, super unfortunate. And, a byproduct of everything that's happening right now is all the trailers that we got also. Yep. They have these kind of deadlines that they had to push these trailers out by to beat certain contractual things related to the strike. And I mean, it's the effects of this, as far as from a production standpoint, won't be felt for like another few years.
Yeah. Yep.
Because obviously everything, it's gaming's the same way. Like, when you start seeing trailers for something, that means it's done and it's in the past. So like the effects of like a strike that's happening now won't. I mean, we already talked about it a few weeks ago with all the delays and stuff. That's all this, related to this. Not all because of it, but it's certainly a piece of it. And then I mean, other things that are ongoing, that are currently being filmed or being affected by this. It's just a mess. Yeah. No other way to explain it. But yeah, like you, I'm definitely on the side of the writers and actors in this and the artists, because, ultimately the corporations are not doing anything other than distributing, really. Yeah. And as we've talked about, honestly, when it comes to corporation input on these projects, we've often said that that's to the detriment of a lot of these things, specifically the DC projects.
I've personally had some issues with the way that Disney's been running things over the last year as well too. So it's unfortunate that we're kind of at this point. I didn't know Fran Drescher she's the president of the actors organization, which is pretty cool too. Yeah. But I believe she was on Good Morning America, and she said there's no movement for us. Like, we're not just gonna settle to work. Like, if this means that future generations of actors will be secure going into this modern age, then so be it. And I mean, this is the yin and yang of the streaming, because, funny enough, I talked about that Babylon kind of touched on this, like how movies went from silent to sound. This is the newest precipice in the entertainment world, is the idea of streaming services. So instead of, you're going to the movies to watch your movies, and televisions, like Sylvester Stallone put it best, like you go to television to die, now you go to television to live. So hopefully these actors are getting the right compensation, and also the writers, because they're truthfully the unsung heroes of this whole thing. These projects don't get made without writers or conceptions of ideas. So
yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about the Emmy nominations too. It all factors into that. moving on to some Alita Battle Angel news. Bet you weren't expecting that.
Nope.
Kind of a movie that felt like a big deal and then just kind of vanished.
Sure, and this movie, I watched it about a year ago. It's like in my Tron Legacy range of like just movies I'll undoubtedly defend to the end of to the end of the earth. I truthfully enjoyed that movie. I think it's a great concept. And I'm so happy that we're going to get a little bit more. The actress that plays Alita as well, I think she was probably the best part of that movie, so I'm glad to kind of see her get more action. And I believe Mahershala Ali didn't die at the end of that. I forget if he died at the end of that movie or not.
I don't think so.
And Edward Norton also was in that movie, so
Christoph Waltz? Yeah.
Christoph Waltz. Well, Christoph Waltz dies, right?
Yes.
Christoph Waltz dies, so... I'm not going to be surprised if they bring Mahershala Ali. We'll see about Edward Norton. I feel like he's more open to things nowadays than he was probably like 10 years ago. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward. James Cameron said there's multiple projects in the works now, and I mean, you give a studio $1 billion, then you're going to kind of get to do what you want as well too.
Yep.
So this is going to be a Disney product at this point, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that, surprisingly for the amount of, obviously, CGI that was involved and special effects were involved, a relatively cheap movie.
Yeah.
I think it was around, I think it might have been, $150 to $200 million budget-wise, which we talked about Indiana Jones last week.
Yeah.
And how astronomically high that budget was. So this one, relatively low budget. It made its money back. It made about $400 million. So, yeah, I'd definitely watch more of these if and when they get made. Obviously, James Cameron works on a different time frame than anybody else, so who knows if this movie's ever going to come out.
He's about 50 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'll throw in a surprise casting that you didn't even know was going to happen.
Oh.
Cameron Monaghan has been cast in the new Tron movie. So that cast is quickly picking up a little bit of steam now. You're adding Evan Peters and Cameron Monaghan. So I don't know how to explain this, but Cameron Monaghan just fits the Tron world. I don't know how to explain it.
I totally get it.
But
I totally get what you're saying.
It's just going to work. And that's all I'll say on that. I just believe it's going to work.
Speaking of Cameron Monaghan, we do have a few gaming tidbits. First and foremost, Respawn has confirmed that they're currently actively developing the third game in the Star Wars Jedi, now that we know is going to be a trilogy. I assumedly furthering the journey of Cal Kestis. Yep. I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised that it's already in motion.
I'm actually not surprised that it's already in motion. I'm going to couple that with two things. I'm going to couple that with the success of Jedi Survivor, especially like the social media success. I know a lot of people were playing that game. A lot of people were into the idea of that game. And also, you probably want to hit the iron while it's hot, so let people know, hey, we're already working on the third one. And I mean, the way the second one ended, because the second one more or less ends on a cliffhanger. And my favorite, spoilers for the game, but my favorite part about that cliffhanger is it's not a plot cliffhanger as much as it's a character motivation cliffhanger, which I think is a really interesting idea that not enough projects, talk about as much. This person's kind of descent into wherever they need to dive into. So I can't wait to see what Cameron Monaghan does in the third installment of that game. And I wonder if this is going to just be the third one and that's it, or if they're going to try to keep going after this. Yeah. I kind of hope this, because the second game, like I said during our review, that game felt very Empire-esque. So I hope the third game is like, Return of the Jedi. Obviously some sacrifices were made in the second one. So I think they can really, given they just are focused on themselves, they don't have a lot of studio interference, they can really hit a home run for the final game. Yeah,
totally agreed. And then the other kind of gaming news we have so EA developing a pair of, so the Marvel games kind of sphere is rapidly growing. EA is developing both an Iron Man game and a Black Panther game with two different studios attached to them. So Motive is the studio working on Iron Man, which is being described as a original narrative that taps into the rich history of Iron Man, channeling the complexity, charisma, and creative genius of Tony Stark, and enabling players to feel what it's like to truly play as Iron Man.
They only watch the MCU. They didn't realize that comic book Iron Man is the worst.
Well, who knows? They might dive into that also.
I hope they do.
I think that's cool. I think an Iron Man solo game can absolutely work.
The Iron Man solo game, funny enough, might be a good outlet to test if a Superman game can work.
Sure.
So this is going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, so I'm definitely pumped for that. And then the other thing was a Black Panther game that's being developed. We want our game to enable players to feel what it's like to be worthy of the Black Panther mantle in unique story-driven ways, and we want cliffhanger games to empower everyone on our team as we collaborate to bring this amazing world to life. So it's going to be a obviously semi-open world story game based around Wakanda, Wakanda, and this was the game that I think a while back was rumored to be being developed by EA that was going to star a kind of player character protagonist assuming the mantle of Black Panther, and
which
I think
we were not fans of.
No, and I'm still not. They haven't said who the main character is, which I think is a little alarming.
Yeah, just I mean I just think it's very, you just make it T'Challa, like T'Challa didn't Chadwick Boseman passed away. T'Challa didn't pass away.
Yeah,
like it's fine. Just make it T'Challa. Like, give us a game with the Black Panther. Like, that would be a really good superhero game to have. And just to talk broad strokes about the both of them, I will say I feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy game really. I know obviously different developers, different directors, but that Guardians of the Galaxy game really open the doors for games like this to just, be coming out and everybody kind of being like, we're going to immediately kind of buy into things like this too. So, I just hats off to that. Like, we've talked about that Guardians of the Galaxy game twice on here. That game is phenomenal, but the biggest, compliment we give to that game is the storytelling beats and not the fact that it's, it is linear, there's a path you have to follow, but the world itself that you live in feels lived in. I think that's a good way for these games to navigate.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's how these comic book properties should be going forward. I think Spider-Man obviously does a masterful job of that, having a lived-in world. Yep. We talked about, obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy. I think even the Marvel's Avengers world is interesting. We talked about that game, too, and the shortcomings weren't really with the story, more so was the actual execution and design of the mechanics of that game. I think you could do something very similar with Iron Man. You could obviously do something very similar with Black Panther, where you have these established characters just doing an adventure, having callbacks to certain things. I think would be cool. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, we're getting teased. The Daredevil game is been rumored forever. Games like that. So I think it's going to be awesome. And these two games are good. It's like the middle bridge. I think these two games are going to be the ones where we find out, because obviously the Guardians game, it was technically first like a single player, but you're still controlling other people. I think these games are going to be like, how you play The Last of Us or how you play God of War. These games are going to operate where it's one character that you're kind of with and that you live or die with. So,
and then we have, obviously we haven't seen much of it since it was announced, but the studio led by Amy Hennig of Uncharted fame is also developing a Black Panther game, coinciding Black Panther Captain America game.
Very interesting.
That is still happening, with a Black Panther, T'Challa's grandfather. It was with I think what was it, 19 to 20-year-old Steve Rogers, Captain America, and then a member of the Dora Milaje and a member of the Howling Commandos would all be playable in a I'm assuming a chapter-based capacity, because they said it's going to be a single-player game, so it's going to be probably chapter-based with all those characters, which I'm super excited for also. And then obviously, Spider-Man 2 comes out in 3 months. The Wolverine game, obviously by Insomniac, is still
probably
in
most anticipated game.
So yeah, I mean, Marvel, they weren't kidding when they said they were seriously trying to create not a shared gaming universe, obviously, but just passing their properties off to different developers and letting them cook. And more often than not, to this point, they've had success. Speaking of Marvel and speaking of the MCU, Simu Liu has come out and given us some updates on the future of Shang-Chi. And if you like the first Shang-Chi movie, we have some bad news for you. So from his understanding, a second Shang-Chi movie is not going to be coming out until after Avengers Kang Dynasty, which is a long ways away, as we talked about.
It's a long ways away, and this brings up a bigger conversation, which we will make very short. And I do not think that Kang Dynasty should come out. I think they should scrap Kang Dynasty in lieu of just making Secret Wars a 2-part movie. I think that plays much better. Obviously, real-world implications in lieu of the Jonathan Majors situation, which nobody knows how this thing's going to turn out. So I just think it's better that you scrap the movie, maybe not let your heroes, and, probably one of the more respectable movies out of Phase 4 that people kind of, for the most part universally liked was Shang-Chi, was probably in the top 2 of that with, like, No Way Home in there. Maybe let that movie be the one where you kind of push up a little bit and you get him some more action and some more screen time. So
yeah, so if this is the case, right? Like the Kang Dynasty movie is not coming out until 2026 is when it's slated for. If that's the kind of time frame that you're looking at potentially like 2027 for a second Shang-Chi movie.
So 6 years in between your movies is
crazy.
And the only movie that will get the pass in the MCU with that is Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange also was in everybody's movie, obviously leading up until his second movie. So
yeah, like they would never do this to Iron Man,
nope,
Captain America. Not. I don't understand it. I feel like it's easy enough to forge a story for a second Shang-Chi movie.
Yeah, and like I said, he's the one where he probably has the easiest layup to give yourself a second movie. And I already gave my pitch for the movie. You do the Battle of the Seven Cities, and you're just like, who's this fella wearing this, this drape over his head? You're Iron Fist from Marvel Comics, and you just have them fight.
It just goes back to like my running kind of issue with Marvel over the last couple of years, where they're so focused on the bigger picture that they're not focusing really anymore on like the solo stuff.
Yeah, like Blade's just in limbo, right? And like Blade again should have been a layup for the actor that had and the property you had.
Yeah, like it just feels like they're looking at these projects now and thinking of like, okay, but how does this character fit into the bigger picture?
And it's like, it almost feels like a burden to have to release these projects for them at this point. Like it feels like it's like, oh, we have to get this out so we can get like, why won't you just let the project breathe and just be its own thing?
Which is, I feel, what made Shang-Chi such a success in the first place, was like, oh, like, this is, like, just totally kind of detached.
With director influence that's noticeable, like, the hand-to-hand action is noticeable. I will say this about that movie, which I love, like, it's got one of the most forgivable CGI third acts of anything. Simu Liu's pretty charismatic himself, and, like, he kind of caught a little lightning in the bottle, like, just giving it 6 years is too much to let it breathe. And then who knows what's going to happen with the writer/actor strike on top of that, too.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate because, like I said, they wouldn't do this to any of their mainstay kind of characters in the early phases of the MCU. Like, imagine, like, if Iron Man 1 had come out and then, so what, that came out in 2008?
Yep, 2008.
So, like, imagine if Iron Man 2 didn't come out until 2014. Like,
right.
Like, that wouldn't be a thing. Like, we got two Iron Man movies before the first Avengers movie.
Exactly.
Like, so, it's just a little crazy. The Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
We finally got the big reveal, the big Emmy nomination reveal. Obviously not as big as the Oscars, but still kind of a big deal and something that both you and I were looking forward to. Specifically with a few things that we kind of had vested interest in and seeing where they would land, and
the Marvelous Ms. Mabel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No. So we did get some Emmy nominations. Obviously, the drama categories are the most interesting ones because that's like
it's Succession and The Last of Us and White Lotus.
Yeah, but I mean it's a pretty loaded.
This year is like notoriously going to be difficult, and I kind of knew that going in. And it was the thing that happened at the Oscars where I wanted to see if Everything Everywhere All at Once could survive because it came out in April, and then you have to go from literally April to March with being like, can you survive this long? And it's like, it's a very narrative-based process. So obviously The Last of Us had a chokehold, and then, subsequently we didn't talk about Succession, but Succession just was absolutely the talk of the town week in, week out after The Last of Us ended. So I think, what did they had one episode together or something like that?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, at the same time, Barry's in a different category. Barry lands in the comedy, but I even dare to say that Barry shouldn't even be in the comedy category. It should be in the drama category. So, What do we got? Who's been nominated for stuff? What's the big ones?
I mean, for shows, I mean, at least like I said, the drama series is essentially like, I feel like for
It's
the
your
Emmys,
best picture.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because like, you know, the comedy series obviously is you can get good stuff coming out. I mean, there's great stuff.
Yeah, there's actually like 4. I mean, everything that comes out. Like we always say this, like this is still, you know, the top echelon. Like this is the best of the stuff that comes out.
But the drama series, I struggle to find a bad show in this entire run. Yellow Jackets, White Lotus, Succession, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, The Crown, Better Call Saul, and then, surprise, surprise, Andor nominated for Best Drama Series.
Love to see it. I was thinking about Andor the other day, and I was like, that show is just like ridiculously good.
Yeah. So shout out to, you know, Disney and Star Wars for pumping out a really complex, interesting show with Andor that we both really, really liked. Cool that it got its nod for you know, best drama series on the Emmys.
Andy Serkis should have been nominated in the category that Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett are in.
But yeah, let's talk about the guest character supporting, because the guest character supporting actor category is just pick someone from The Last of Us and give them an award. I would be stunned otherwise if one of these 4 didn't win. Talking about Kevon Montreal Woodard, Lamar Johnson, Murray Bartlett, and Nick Offerman. Crime against humanity that these 4 have to be pitched up against each other, but it's what we talked about with The Last of Us, that every episode had these just incredible performances from not just the main cast, but the guest cast also. I mean, we talked about, obviously, episode 3 of The Last of Us with Nick Offerman, Murray Bartlett playing Frank and Bill was just one of the best episodes of TV ever.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the Henry and Sam focused episode also was just incredible.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know how you... Obviously, I feel like it's going to go to one of either Murray Bartlett or Nick Offerman, but I don't know how you pick one over the other.
Because at that point, you know, Murray Bartlett because we kind of knew what Nick Offerman was going to bring, especially to Bill, and we'd never seen Frank before. And it's a great argument about, like, you know, games and how games get adapted, like, you know, things that are different. Like, I think it's a testament to all the people that were, you know, angry about whatever. You could pick anything. The fact that Frank wasn't a character in the game, but he's here now. The fact about their sexuality, whatever you want to pick to get angry about that you shouldn't have to get angry about. But is that not a testament to how incredible it was that the both of them are in here? I feel like this is going to be Nick Offerman's. If you think about a narrative-based thing, like
it's his episode.
It's his episode. But Murray Bartlett's so good, and he just infuses like the entire ideal of the show into that episode, where it's like through all this crap, like, you know, there's still a little bit of hope at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I don't know how you pick.
I really want
one of the 2.
Oh man, Kevon Woodard would be good too, because, you know, the decision to make him deaf, and then the interaction he has with Ellie, like that whole scene with him and Ellie is one of my favorite scenes of television I'd seen at that point. It caught me off guard because I thought they were just going to have him, you know, turn, but you're adding complexities on top of complexities. So
yeah, and then we get the guest actress category, which again buoyed by The Last of Us and Succession. So from The Last of Us side, we got Anna Torv, we got Melanie Linsky, and Storm Reed. This feels like a Succession award.
Yep.
You know, I liked all these characters in The Last of Us. Tess, Anna Torv was great. Storm Reed obviously was a force of nature in the Left Behind episode, and then Melanie Linsky was also a good character in her own right as what was her name in the show?
God, I can't remember. We'll remember.
Karen. It wasn't Karen, but
no, she's Apocalypse Karen.
Apocalypse Karen.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, all 3 of them were great, but yeah, Succession probably taking that with one of their slew of actors that were nominated.
I think Succession's gonna be incredibly hard to beat. Kathleen. Kathleen Kennedy.
We were close. Just kidding.
We were close. Karen, Kathleen. But yeah, Succession on an actor front is going to be so tough to try to compete with, in my opinion. Like I think that Jeremy Strong's going to get the best actor for the drama series. Like, it's going to be really difficult, but, you know, hey, this is why we play the game. It's fun. It's cool. Like, the fact that it's not one show that we just know. So
yeah, and then we had Best Supporting Actor, which is the category that confused me the most, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 actors nominated, but from 2 shows.
2 shows, yep.
White Lotus and Succession. I feel like you could have given a few other shows some time to breathe.
There's one show specifically that we think could have gotten a little love.
Yeah, I think this is where you put House of the Dragon.
Yep, you put Matt Smith and Patty Constantine.
Easily.
And Patty Constantine was phenomenal. Matt Smith is, you know, our world-famous heat check performance. Like, it's Matt Smith in that show, but, I mean, you know, all jokes aside, I'm actually a little confused that Patty Constantine isn't here. It kind of sucks that he doesn't get the love that he deserved, because he really transforms himself. He, you know, I'm talking character bits, but the way he portrayed nobility, and, like, you know, how you have nobility in a world like that, I just thought was really incredible. And then obviously his tour de force and his magnum opus was episode 8 as well too. So
yeah, because the character of Viserys went a lot longer than I think a lot of people expected. I think a lot of people expected it to be kind of wrapped up by like episode 4, but they really dragged out that kind of you know, the deterioration and the suffering, and he wore it. Patty Constantine wore it so incredibly well. I think, you know, going to the other side of things in terms of the supporting actress, I think you could have given either of the pair of Rhaenyra and Alison Hightower actresses.
Yep.
Particularly Olivia Cook.
Yep.
As the older Alison Hightower, I think really probably could have gotten a look. And then, you could have probably given Emma Darcy or Millie Alcock a look for Rhaenyra.
Yep.
So it's just interesting, because historically with Game of Thrones, with the Emmys, that's kind of where that show lived, was that, because it was an ensemble. So you obviously don't have a lead. So that show really kind of dominated the supporting actor Emmys for the show's run, particularly Peter Dinklage. Really cleaned that up for a couple years as Tyrion Lannister. So, but then again, I mean, obviously House of the Dragon, it was a first season. There's going to be plenty of time, hopefully, for these actors, particularly Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook. I think are definitely going to get. I think that's kind of probably where they struggled with it, because you know, the characters were split.
And again, I mean, I just see White Lotus and Succession, and I mean, you know, I said about Succession was built to have all these actor nominations tiered for them. So I'm just a little surprised that House of the Dragon didn't. I know that show came out last year in, what was it? No, it was before. It was like August or something. That show came out last year. I'm a little surprised that show in the actor categories didn't get as much love as it did. And I mean, it could be, you know, it's the thing that nobody will ever say, but, you know, conspiracy theories run. It could be the fact that it was the first thing to come out after Game of Thrones, and the way that Game of Thrones ended left a bad taste in people's mouths. So I feel like people didn't want to touch Game of Thrones, and Succession was getting so popular. So
yeah, sure. And then we kind of touched upon the best actor and actress in a drama category. So obviously the leading duo of The Last of Us nominated on each side, Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. I think Bella Ramsey has more of a avenue to victory.
I think I would actually be surprised if she does not win for The Last of Us.
So
Sarah Snook truthfully Sarah Snook's the only person. Again, if you're in Succession, you're the only person that's in your way. But I do think this is Bella Ramsey's to lose.
So Succession and ensemble or not, I think the Emmys need to come to terms with that.
I mean, I think it is an ensemble, I guess, but they really treat it as if it's everybody's the main character, which, I mean, they kind of are. So
yeah, but that's really what a lead actor is,
right?
Like, a lead actor is what, you know, Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal did. Like, they're the two characters by which I feel like once you get to like 4, 5, 6, like, you're an ensemble at this point.
Well, I mean, there's 4 definitive main characters in Succession, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the 3 siblings, and it's Brian Cox. So
yeah,
let's talk about comedy for 5 seconds.
Sure.
I mean, it's the 2 that shouldn't be in the comedy category that I think about, specifically Barry. Barry ended its run phenomenally. It's so tough for these shows to stick the landing, and I mean, Barry stuck the landing and then some. And then The Bear has been the hot show, and I mean, hot as the surface of the sun show right now. I'm just glad that show's getting its flowers. Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Adebiri are just phenomenal actors, and then the rest of the cast as well too. But just the production team on that show, it's something to live by for people that want to make stuff. It's like you don't need to be the most complicated, because intrinsically Succession and The Last of Us and you need to do some stuff to shoot those shows, but The Bear doesn't necessarily feel like it needs to be this massive budget, but you kind of just let your main character just be relatable, be broken a little bit, and then you kind of live. I mean, that's why Jeremy Allen White, I think, is going to win the best actor for a comedy series. But it's funny. I mean, I feel like I don't know if I came up with this quote or somebody said it. It's funny that I always think the best dramas have some of the best comedy, and the best comedies usually have the darkest and saddest and most somber drama. So
it also feels like they just ran out of space.
Sure.
In the drama category,
sure.
So they just kind of slid them over.
Sure.
Because you could get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, Barry very much was like a dark comedy, but you get into the later and the comedy is just kind of, it's there because it was built for that from the get-go, but I don't really feel the comedy as much as I just feel horrible and wonderful after I watch Barry. And the same thing for The Bear. I mean, especially in the back half of season 2, I didn't really feel like it. There's great, hilarious moments. I forget what his name is, the one that's actually a chef. The brothers, they're hilarious. They're great. But then you get into the nitty gritty. Jeremy Allen White he's contractually obligated to get one monologue off, but that monologue is just phenomenal each time in. So, I just finished it a couple days ago. Phenomenal show. That I hope that show runs forever. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's just going to be an award series staple for as long as that show goes. Yeah,
exactly. And you can kind of feel it with certain shows that oh, this is going to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan.
That's what we'll end this with. Obi-Wan got nominated for Best Limited Series.
Somehow. Look, it was fine. Mm-hmm. It was good. The last episode is really, 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 really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I just feel like that's a case of the, that's definitely a case of the, I just feel for some of the other shows that probably should have, there's probably an unsung hero show that came out that was 5 or 6 episodes long. And then you're just why is Obi-Wan here out of all the shows? So
Bro thinks he's on the team. I'm just going to say a late addition to Best Limited Series could have been just episode 2, Secret Invasion.
Here we go. You earned all this smoke, brother.
Just that episode as a limited series?
They were doing some acting in that episode. Tell me how Don Cheadle got nominated for Falcon and the Winter Soldier for having maybe 7 lines of dialogue and 3 minutes of screen time, but he's cooking in Secret Invasion and just will not get looked at. Insane.
Nobody sent me, Nick. I volunteered. I can't wait to talk about Secret Invasion. Oh my god.
There's actually no more room left on this train car. Oh my god.
I think this is your stop.
Tell me something I don't know.
You want a way to contact me, Talos? Oh man.
This Earth does not have room for another species.
Remember when the MCU did Heat?
Yeah, that was the MCU's version of Heat. It's the Secret Invasion.
I can't wait. We got a couple weeks yet. We gotta get through Barbie Oppenheimer before we talk about.
And who knows if we'll even get through that?
We might not.
We might get nuked. So who knows?
Trailers.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave this up to you to figure out what you're gonna do, because this is hilarious how you're gonna go about this.
So we got an Ahsoka trailer.
I didn't think you were gonna go that route, or maybe I think you might be going the route I want you to. Okay, Ahsoka. Look, I mean, this is where the budget for Mandalorian season 3 went to, right?
Yeah,
it looks good.
It
looks good. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. It looks good. The production value looks like it's there.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think that's ever been a issue for the Disney Plus Star Wars series, is the production value it feels like Star Wars. I don't think that's really been too big of an issue for them. And just storytelling beats has been their issue for essentially just Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 3. Outside of that, they've been pretty solid. I just feel like there's a lot of TLC in this show. Like, there's a lot of, you got Dave Filoni at the helm. You're bringing, Giancarlo Esposito's worst enemy, Thrawn, out here. He's not him, says Giancarlo Esposito. He's not like that. Thrawn's like a number one pick. That might be a bust.
So I guess my only question with this Ahsoka show is it accessible to a casual audience?
That's an impeccable question, and I might have to say no. I don't know. Well, obviously they're doing a 2-episode premiere, so that might answer your question a little bit. Is that they might do a lot of lore building, not so much lore building, but lore searching, like lore re-upping, just so the casual viewer can come in. And I mean, I don't know when we're going to talk about it. It's going to be in the next couple weeks. Where we had a conversation outside of here where we talked about actually we might talk about it on Blue Beetle because there's a rumor that there's going to be some cameos in Blue Beetle. Like, has there been a superhero project in the last couple of years where there's just been one superhero in there?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard. I mean, you can't really count the Suicide Squad because it's an ensemble.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Even Miss Marvel had Captain Marvel in the last, she popped up in the last episode. Like, when's the last time that just a
Shang-Chi had Wong?
Shang-Chi had Wong.
The Eternals was an ensemble.
Right.
Shoot. I mean, Black Widow technically was self-contained relatively. But
then it had Florence Pugh, and Red Guardian, which we knew what was going to happen with them. So.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's
But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because it's the accessibility of it.
Like the Brian Windhorst thing.
Right, yeah. Is everything going to connect? No. But
what's happening in Star Wars?
Yeah, what's happening in Star Wars? But that's my point. Like, all these superhero projects we got...
We thought The Mandalorian was that.
Right.
Until it wasn't.
And it feels a little unfortunate that this is the case where it's like, it feels like you need to see something where that's where, Andor is the greatest example of this in any of this, where Andor is just the show that just existed inside of a universe, but there wasn't I didn't need to know who the Skywalkers were. All I needed to know was
You also don't had to have watched Rogue One.
Nope.
To understand Andor.
Nope.
In fact, we talked about this when we talked about Andor. In fact, watching Andor actually amplifies the Rogue One experience instead of it being the other way around.
Him as a character feels much more consumable at that point.
Because you get to, we talked about this when we talked about both Rogue One and Andor, that, Rogue One is weird because when you meet Cassian, he feels like he's at the end of his character
and he
arc.
murders somebody right out of the gate. And, not in a cool way. It's, in a very cold-blooded way, which is, okay, but then you watch Andor, you're like, this guy's seen you're seeing this guy see the stuff that he's seen.
Yeah.
So, that I really appreciate. So, again, why am I talking about this? Because, to answer your question, can somebody walk into this show? I don't know. We're going to have to see after these 2 episodes, but I am a little fearful that, there is a lot of characters, and, I mean, you're dealing with Sabine, you're dealing with Ahsoka, you're dealing with these new Dark Jedi, you're dealing with Ezra, Thrawn, there's so many characters being thrown at you, how do you plausibly consume that without having to jump to YouTube or having to jump to the other thing? Or is that what these streamers want? Do they want that? Is this the point of oh, well, now I have to stay on the streaming service and now I have to go watch Rebels now? Maybe that's what they want.
Yeah, but are people doing that?
Right, exactly. Yeah, are you going to sit down and just make sure which...
Because I've talked to, I don't know about you, but I've talked to a bunch of people as it relates to the Marvel stuff. They're like, I haven't seen any of the shows, but I watched the movies. I feel like that's where a lot of people still live, to be honest. People aren't going and watching WandaVision or Loki or, all these other things.
Yep, and I mean, when we talk about Mission Impossible next time, I watched every Mission Impossible. I watched 3 in one day, and then I watched the next 3 the next day.
Because you're a madman.
And then I watched Mission Impossible 7 the day after. People aren't doing that. Some people literally just want to go in and be like, can I pick up at Mission Impossible 7 and just be able to see this and not be confused? And I mean, spoiler alert for that one, it actually does a pretty solid job of not having to see the other ones and being
not
okay.
Really.
But I think these superhero projects and these, other fandom projects are getting away from that. I feel like you need to, and it's the multiverse thing for the superhero projects, and for the Star Wars projects, it feels like it's always the pre-post fall of Anakin Order 66 thing.
Yeah.
So obviously this is a big deal to, you know, post Order 66. So we'll see. I'm still excited. Looks great. Rosario Dawson, 10 out of 10. Great idea to cast her as Ahsoka. An already established actress, but has room to grow with this character too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Because we got obviously more looks at Sabine. We got more looks at Ezra. Ray Stevenson's character seems very interesting.
Yeah, I like him and his... I still don't know how it's going. There's like a scenario in my head where that's his daughter, and I feel like that would be very interesting that's the exact reason why he was kicked out of the Jedi Order, because he had a kid. Like, and I feel like that would give the two of them some more emotional stakes. I mean, the big lore thing is it's a lot of mentions of Anakin in this trailer. Specifically, Ray Stevenson's character talking about, like, he said something about, you know, her and Anakin at the same time. She talks about how Anakin didn't finish my training. So, really good pickup for that as well, too. And I mean, obviously I just said that about that, and now I'm talking about the fact that it connects everything. But
yeah, but it does. I mean, again, that's one of those things that, like, if people's only exposure to Ahsoka is the episode of The Mandalorian, then yeah, a lot of this stuff is inaccessible. I feel like maybe they should do something akin to what Marvel does with those. They don't even really promote them well, but I feel like they should more. Those Marvel Legends shots of, like, here's the character's journey, like their summation. Like maybe they should do one of those on Ahsoka.
I think that would be maybe even do one on Thrawn. Well, maybe you don't need to do it on. And I mean, that brings up a different conversation too. Like, obviously Thrawn is the right villain for this, but to the broad audience, is he the right villain? Because he's been so obscure. And, like, a lot of his lore is not canon anymore. So where do you pull from? So
I don't know. I guess we'll find out in August. You spoke about Blue Beetle, so we did get a Blue Beetle trailer. That was 3.5 minutes. Yep. Too long?
Yeah, maybe a little too long. But nevertheless, I mean, the cast is what I'm most excited for. I mean, Zola Maridueña, we've been singing the praises. I think he's about to hit his stride as an actor, and now obviously being in, you know, bigger Hollywood movies, really cool for him. Like that's what I'm most excited for. That this kid that we watched on Cobra Kai on a YouTube series is now the main character in, like, a big studio movie. I think that's pretty awesome too. So
absolutely.
Adding George Lopez.
Lopez is gonna cook?
Yeah, George Lopez might cook. Grandma might cook. Nana might cook. Physically and literally, she might cook. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have one big concern. Yeah. I think this movie might have a villain problem.
Yeah.
I think this movie might have a very generic villain problem. And what did I tell you before we hopped on here? This movie, and I don't know a better way to explain it, looks like every other comic book movie mashed into one comic book movie, if that makes sense.
Well, you know, I think I'm going to adopt this in our future movie reviews, because it's been a refrain I've been echoing the last couple of weeks. And I think in lieu of, like, a plot synopsis, I think I'm just going to open every movie review we do with, who is this for?
Yes.
Because I'm asking myself, I find myself asking this question every time. Funny enough, I feel like I'm able to draw a line between, like, movies I like versus movies I don't like, based on if I'm able to answer this question, because I feel like with Mission Impossible, I was able to answer that question.
Who's that? Everybody. That movie is for everybody.
And more specifically, like, it's for fans of the franchise. Yeah. It's for fans of action movies. Yep. It's for fans of Tom Cruise specifically.
Yep. And it's for just fans of the movie-going experience. And it's just fan of the movies, like, itself. Like, that movie hits all the beats. Yeah. You can bring your family to see that movie. You can that's a date night movie. Like, that movie hits a whole bunch of categories.
I said the same thing with John Wick. I said the same thing. Like, I knew who that movie was for. Conversely, movies like The Flash, I still don't know who that movie's for.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to double back on my point about, like, you know, the quality of superhero movies just being able to be put out and just being whatever, and them relying on, well, this person's in this movie, so it's going to be good. It's starting to dwindle, and I'm going to double down on the fact for that of, you know, I see Mission Impossible, right? And I'm like, this movie is quality-wise looking great. Like, you can't sell me a movie on the fact that people are just going to be in this thing. Like, you need to make me a movie. Like, there still needs to be a film somewhere in here, too. And I do feel that a little bit with Blue Beetle, so I'll definitely give it that. I could definitely, like, I mean, number one, making the suit practical was a huge win for me. That's like, it's such a simple thing, but it helps with a little bit of the realism. But again, I'm a little concerned about the villains, and that's just going to be very, Susan Sarandon's just going to be very very Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
And like I forget, the other guy that's in there.
The other guy.
Not the other guy. The other guy. That he's just going to be very generic. Like, they even say a generic line in the trailer. Like, they do the generic, like, your family can't save you. And he's like, my family makes me, whatever it is. You know what it is. But that's concerning me a little bit. And, like, it's the fact that it won't set it apart from anything. Like, it just feels, it's not going to, what is this going to, like, Black Panther has the discernible thing that set it apart, which made it incredible. Like, when Marvel was at its stride, they had discernible things that were setting it apart. It just feels like I've seen everything now, especially with the multiverse stuff. I've seen everything now, so you can't trick me anymore.
You can't fool me anymore.
Can't fool me anymore.
Yeah. Fool
me, can't get fooled again.
I already told you that this movie, I'm already concerned. So, Wonka.
Let's get into it.
Oh man.
Is he whimsical?
Is he whimsical enough?
Can I go off?
Does he exude enough
Can I go off?
silly guy energy for you for this trailer?
Can everybody relax? This is a movie about a guy that makes a chocolate factory that he has to infringe on the land of the chocolate cartel. I think it's fine. Like, oof. I mean, it goes down to my point, like, you gotta know what type of movie you're consuming. Like, this isn't, like, Goodfellas. Like, relax a little bit. Like, this is from the creators of Paddington. Like,
I think everybody got caught up in the memeology of this movie.
well, is that not the big destroyer of worlds in the comic book or in the movie industry right now?
Like, when this movie was announced as, like, Wonka, like the Willy Wonka origin story, I think immediately, like, everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be a dark, like, crazy retelling of the Willy Wonka story. Like, nah.
You know what the dark retelling of the Wonka story is?
The Johnny Depp one?
Nope. Well, yeah. Yes, but Gene Wilder was a murderer, and Johnny Depp had a complicated past with his Last Crusade or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because both have.
Wow. But you made a great point about this movie when you dubbed it. I don't want to step on your term, so I'll let you say it.
What did I call it?
Call it you compared it to what other movie?
Oh yeah, this is like Superman Returns. This is like Superman Returns, where like this very much feels like this is Gene Wilder's Wonka. Like this is like the origin of that Wonka, not of, because we already saw the origin of the other worlds Wonka. Elseworlds Wonka. That did feel very Elseworlds. That felt like if Zack Snyder directed a Wonka movie.
Because it was Tim Burton that directed it.
It was Tim Burton. Yeah, like, this is from the creators of Paddington, which won me over. This movie's coming out on Christmas. Like,
Paddington was the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes movie of all time.
Yeah.
For, like, ever.
Yeah. Can I be honest with everybody? This is a kid's movie. Like, I think it's gonna be okay. Like, I think you'll be fine. But I mean, it's the detriment of, of social media that plagues this movie.
Yeah.
Like, what helped Barbieheimer is gonna destroy this, because it's like, oh, like, Timothée Chalamet doesn't fit. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
and I'll argue, he does seem silly enough.
Yeah, he's like a whimsical. He's like, yeah.
He does have silly guy energy.
Yeah,
I'll argue.
Fine. Like, I feel like this is a kid's movie.
He's
like,
a magician and an inventor and a chocolate maker.
He's a chocolate maker. Hugh Grant's an Oompa Loompa. Like, who cares? Like,
he's gonna make the biggest chocolate factory the world's ever seen.
Yeah, like, again, this is just...
He did a singing in the rain, spinning on a light post bit.
Which was good. That was, like, one of the best bits from this trailer. Like,
he did the up balloons bit.
I mean, we had an episode dedicated to... It wasn't dedicated to...
Silly guy energy?
Nope.
We should do one, though.
We should. It wasn't dedicated to, like, what social media does, but we divulged into it. Like, it is very frustrating that, like, that's the response to this. Like, this should just be, all right, if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. Like, who cares if you don't like it or like it? But, like, this movie hasn't even come out yet. Like, and this is also a kid's movie. Right. So I think it's fine. Like, I just think this is fun. again, I just feel like the way that people try to consume is like negative first. Like you got to find the thing because like you need to gatekeep and like be angry just to seem different.
Not
but
my favorite character, Willy Wonka.
Exactly. So it's very simple for me. Have fun. Just go with your little brothers and sisters. Go get some chocolate after the movie. It's fine. Relax.
Yes, I agree.
Why can't we just go to movies to watch movies?
Yeah, movies like the Napoleon movie.
and
the Bob Marley biopic.
Yes. I was gonna throw Killers of the Flower Moon, but like these two specifically need to be talked about.
Two legends of the industry.
We weren't gonna talk about this, but it was too funny not to talk about this. So two trailers that played before Mission Impossible were the Napoleon movie and the Bob Marley movie.
Yeah.
And I'm all in on the Bob Marley movie.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is. Something Kingsley Benadir that's playing Gravik in Secret Invasion as Bob Marley seems to be like a revelation. I think he's doing pretty dang good. He looks good. And I talk about something like the feel of movies, like how they feel, the aura around them. You get a really good aura from that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
And I would akin that to something like, I hope it plays a little bit like Judas and the Black Messiah, where there's some truths that are being uncovered while you're trying to tell this story as well too. That also brings out some great performances too, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming out in 2024. I'm going to be curious to see if he gets an Oscar nom for this. Obviously, we got to see when this movie comes out.
Kingsley Benadir is also in the Barbie movie.
Yeah, he is also in the Barbie movie. He's playing one of the Kens in the Barbie movie. So
nice. What a year.
Yeah, he's having a great couple of years. What was the thing he was famous for? Was it it wasn't Bridgerton, right? No.
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, it was something I knew that he got famous. I knew it was something British. That's why I said Bridgerton. I knew it was something British he got famous for. Britishton, yes. And then
man, this Napoleon trailer is confusing.
I just have one question. So Ridley Scott said, I'm going to make a Napoleon movie. And I was excited when I heard about it because...
Phoenix?
It's Joaquin Phoenix and, also Vanessa Kirby's in this movie, who should play Sue Storm.
Yep, I'm in. I'm on board.
Yep. But yeah, I have one question. Where's Napoleon from?
France?
Are you sure he's not from, Are
you sure about that?
Yeah, are you sure he's not, from Virginia? Why does he have an American accent?
I have no idea what's going on in this trailer for Napoleon. The music, the score beats are confusing.
I don't think there's... Ooh, they might be score beats. I thought that was just the music they used for the trailer, but now I'm a little bit more concerned.
That's confusing. I don't know what's happening in it.
It is a lot to take in.
It feels like it's, loosely based on history.
Mm-hmm.
But,
he's not short enough?
What if Napoleon, but he was awesome? Seems to be the vibe of this movie.
Look, what was the movie that? The Last Duel was Ridley Scott's last movie before this one. So
yeah.
I got some Ridley. I love you. Ridley Scott to me is he's in my top 10 directors of all time. I think he really changed the landscape of filmmaking. But man, I just have some queries about this movie. I just have some questions. Why is he from Los Angeles? I just don't understand. Where is he from?
Yeah,
that's all I have to say about. It looks fine.
It looks confusing.
Yeah, I'm a little tonally. I don't know where this movie lies. And you know what's funny? What movie because I wanted some cinematography inspiration. I was watching The King, which is shot extremely well with Timothée Chalamet, and I was like, one thing I will say about that movie knows what type of movie it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know, and obviously this is another period piece, I don't know what type of movie this is supposed to be, because, what
if Napoleon, but he was awesome, I said.
Yeah, because, Napoleon's not a good person.
No.
He's probably historically one of the worst people.
Yeah, this is what Michael Bay did with Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
What if Pearl Harbor, but we won at the end? That's what that movie was.
A lot of people didn't know that happened. A lot of people's perception of Pearl Harbor was that movie.
I know.
I just don't think that's going to happen with Napoleon, though.
I don't know.
Google how tall Joaquin Phoenix is. Now I have more questions.
I don't think Napoleon was... I don't think he was actually as short as, history tells us.
But he had a little man complex, which is much worse.
Joaquin Phoenix is 5'8".
That's fine. That's fine.
Napoleon height. 5'6". All right.
Oh, why did history have me believing like?
Well, because George Washington was like 6'3".
And Abraham, I'm not gonna lie, we had the Washington's Wizards need to call up former presidents because,
yeah, Washington was 6'2" and Lincoln was 6'4".
Yeah, that's your point guard and your shooting guard. I'm not gonna lie, the Wizards need to make some calls. They just lost Bradley Beal. Yeah, they gotta get Lincoln and
Washington in there.
Not gonna lie, that's a mean 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine hitting a 3 in somebody's face and be like, declarate that.
Boom, you looking for this?
Boom, you looking for this? They just keep the powder wigs on while they hoop.
Man, Rhodey, he's got 2 just all-time bars in the MCU.
Yeah.
He's got Boom, you looking for this? And now he's got You Earned All This Smoke, brother.
Brother.
Man, oh man.
Y'all aren't ready for it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, like we talked about the Bob Marley movie already. I just had to throw those both in there.
Because for the jokes.
Yeah.
Scorsese's making Killers of the Flower Moon, but we don't have to talk about it because he's probably going to win some Oscars from that.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. All right. Now moving on to like the main 2 things. So Deadpool 3, we got a lot of looks at. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, he's got the suit.
He has the suit.
Hubert Jackman has been spotted wearing the classic yellow and blue Wolverine costume.
I thought it was fake at first, and then Ron Reynolds posted on Instagram. I said, "Wow, this is actually real."
The Deadpool suit is much more red.
It's so good. I really like the MCU Deadpool suit.
It looks so sick. The Wolverine costume has prompted what I've called Sleevegate.
It's well, you know the thing about Hugh Jackman, right? I guess he had some issues, like with skin issues or something like that. So relax, everybody. The suit still looks great. Obviously, it's pulling from Astonishing X-Men, and because I'm a psychopath, I immediately read like the first 6 issues of Astonishing X-Men right after that. Even though Joss Whedon is a horrible person, really good comic. Right? Actually, you go because of John Cassidy's art, but suit looks great. Also, there's 2 big things that come out of this, or 3. So number 1, Hugh Jackman's got the suit, buddy cop comedy ensue. Mm-hmm. Number 2, there's a huge destroyed 20th Century Fox logo. So this probably is going to be Deadpool kills the X-Men, but more specifically, Deadpool kills the Fox universe.
Is it meta enough?
For a normal movie, no. Yes, but for a Deadpool movie, no. And then number 3, Ben Affleck, eat your heart out. Jennifer Garner's coming into this movie as Elektra, so all right, you weirdos. This is the movie that you wanted Multiverse of Madness to be. I think is going to be this movie.
Yes.
Because this is just. Yeah. I think they're going to pull out all the stops for this movie. I think it is going to be. They're going to get the original X-Men. So Halle Berry, James Marsden, and I always forget.
Famke Jensen.
Yep, always forget Jean Grey's name. I think the 3 of them are going to be in the movie.
Professor X.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I've heard some rumors, but I don't really want to get into it. Just broad strokes. The big rumor, and you got to time code this for me, is that Ian McKellen's going to be the villain of this. Is going to end up being the villain of like a universe in this movie because ... who's also coming back for this movie. The rumor is going to be Elizabeth Olsen is actually going to play his daughter in this movie. So I'm
not gonna lie. Look, I'm not one that gets wrapped up in like all that crap, but like that sounds super sick.
That would cook. And what better? Because especially after what you do in Multiverse of Madness, I'm not also going to be surprised if Benedict Cumberbatch shows up in this movie too. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised. But what better way to set up like to have like how unkillable she seemed to be in Multiverse of Madness versus 2 guys that just can't die, which is actually pretty interesting. So yeah, you get that. Obviously Patrick Stewart's he's gonna be in. The 2 of them are gonna be in this movie. Do you get Michael Fassbender and why can't I remember?
James
McAvoy. Do you get the 2 of them? I think you're good with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, especially if this is like an homage from like 2000 to 2000 whatever Dark Phoenix ended. Like, I think it's a good homage to have, so I would be cool with that. Yeah, I mean the suit looks really freaking good. Mm-hmm. He's gonna have the cowl. I would be infinitely surprised if he doesn't have the cowl as well.
Also, there could potentially multiple versions of Wolverine in this movie.
Yeah, because where's he going to pull him from is the question, because he's going to have to pull him from a specific either universe or point in time.
I feel like he could potentially pull him from remember in Logan when she shows him the comic books and like he's in the suit in the comic books that she shows him.
What would be really freaking sick is that if they literally pan into that and then they go to that actual part and like the thing that actually happened and then he takes that Wolverine, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. So I feel like that could be an option.
Evan Peters or Aaron Taylor Johnson. I would probably do Evan Peters if you're going to do it.
Yeah, you probably got to do Evan Peters. I'm trying to think of like who else you could get. Fantastic Four? Would they do that?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, another rumor that I heard is that the Illuminati is going to be in the 838 completed Illuminati. So John Krasinski back? ? But we'll see. Yeah, maybe you put the Fantastic Four in there. I think this is going to be.
You put the Fan Four stick?
No. Well, which would be phenomenally hilarious, but. No.
You just pretend that didn't happen.
I mean, would the OG Fantastic Four not be absolutely, like, perfect? Like, Michael Chiklis, Ewan Griffin, Jessica Alba, and Chris Evans would just be phenomenal to have in that movie. Even for 5... Oh, look at us. We're turning into the very thing we sort of destroyed.
Yeah, but this movie gets a pass. This movie's like the Fast and Furious version of this.
Yeah.
We're like, you can do this with a Deadpool movie, it doesn't matter.
All right, I'm back in.
Like, I feel like they can... Like I said it up top, like Deadpool is the one thing that can shake people off of multiverse fatigue because it's going to be dumb, it's going to be meta, it's going to be self-referential, and it's going to be poking fun at all of that stuff. The one person that if we're going to do this whole Fox thing because of the Elektra thing is Ben Affleck.
Because it would have been easier on paper, but if you didn't know, they were married at one point and now they're not married, but they're on good terms, I guess. They have a child together.
I just have to wonder if, after everything he went through with Daredevil the first time, and then after everything he went through with Batman, like, would he do it?
But would Ryan Reynolds not be enough to get you? And he can explain, like, this is just a dumb joke. Like, nobody's gonna... Actually, people might like you more after this, because who cares? Like,
yeah. Like, because you're gonna be playing...
For, what, 5 minutes
and
max?
for all intents and purposes, you're going to be playing a parody of the version that you played.
Right.
That's essentially what all this is going to be.
Right.
They're going to be parodies of the characters that they played.
They're either going to be extremely lore accurate or just parodies of their characters. So
I think secretly the one that could pull it off the best is Marsden, because I feel like he could be just a phenomenal like parody Cyclops.
Either I don't think... it could be akin to how Andy Samberg played Ben Reilly. Like, just because, like, the conceit of, of Cyclops is that he's, like... He's the worst. Like, he's, like, the best worst... But, like, he sucks. Like, he's just, like, a Boy Scout goody two... Like, you stink. Like, nobody likes you. You're annoying. Everybody loves Wolverine. But
you gotta put them all in the costumes, right?
Oh, I wouldn't expect anything like, if, again, to your point, if there was a movie to pull out all the stops, it's this movie, right?
Yeah.
So simple.
Unfortunately, Multiverse of Madness already gave Professor Essig's big floaty yellow chair.
Just give it back to him. Give him back his chair. He's just laying on the ground because he can't walk. So, give him his chair back.
Give it back.
Give it back.
Oh, maybe that's how Deadpool kills Professor X. He just pulls the chair out from under him.
Oh, he like falls and cracks his neck. Oh my god.
Yoink.
But yeah, I'm because you're gonna get Halle Berry, you're gonna get it's gonna be some fun. Like, just have the dumbest, most stupid fun.
What do they call you? Wheels?
The TVA is also in this movie.
I forgot about that.
I wonder if they're gonna dial that down a bit. I feel like they would have cut that completely from the movie if they didn't put Owen Wilson in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
Man, this Jonathan Majors thing's really just absolutely derailed everything. So, there's a legacy of the Superman.
Yes. Yes, there is.
If you thought there was I thought that movie was just calm, and it was just going to be a solid Superman romp. Nope. Here's the Justice League.
Yep.
Alright, so it was Superman Legacies we're going off of, which, to my point, I told you yesterday, they should have just done Secret Origin instead of doing All-Star Superman, which I don't feel it's, to counter my own point, I feel like it's more of a feel of All-Star Superman, not like the actual storyline of All-Star Superman. But, everything was cool. We had Superman, we had Lois, and I thought that was it. I thought they were going to give some breathing room as well. I thought they were going to kind of let it, rock for a little bit. Let Blue Beetle come out maybe, and then some other questions can get answered. But what happened yesterday?
Casting. So many castings.
So many castings.
So many castings. So many characters in a Superman movie. Yeah, man. So we have Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl.
Mm-hmm. Dora.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, there was a live action Dora thing that happened.
Yep.
So good for her.
Good for her.
Everyone's favorite meme, Eddie Gathegi is Mr. Chervik.
Oh, thank God he's back. If they even think about it. No, I think he's smart enough to just... He's more unkillable in this universe than he is as the X-Men. Literally the one X-Men that his whole power is you can't die.
We have Nathan Fillion is gonna be Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, and then just hot off the presses today, Anthony Carrigan just can't get out of the DC universe. Mm-hmm. He's been cast as Metamorpho.
Yeah, this is his third.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because he played
the Mist in the Flash.
The Mist.
He played Victor Zsasz
in Gotham. Yeah.
And now he's Metamorpho. Good stuff.
Not my favorite character, Metamorpho.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. He ruined Metamorpho. No, you don't care about Metamorpho. It's my same thing for Vigilante and Peacemaker. You don't care about Vigilante. You don't even care about Peacemaker. What are you freaking out about?
Superhero overload? Question mark?
It's not the fact that it's superhero overload. I'm just a bit... I'm concerned about two things. One is the fact that they announced this very close to announcing David Cornsweet and who's playing Lois Lane?
Rachel something.
Yeah.
Rosnahan.
Yeah, Rachel Rosnahan. Like, I would have thought they would have let them breathe for a little bit. But no, they said, you know what? Here's all the casting. So it feels like we're getting a very early edition of the Justice League. Which is weird because it's not founded by, Batman or Superman. What I thought they were going to play this as is this is like the Justice... Like, it's the fact that, like, in Earth 2, like, the Justice Society existed and then the Justice League came after them. I thought they were going to kind of play it, which they could. That could be an opportunity for them to kind of do it like that. But the castings are good. What's the guy's name? It's Finn Whitlock or something?
Finn Wolfhard?
Nope. He was supposed to play Guy Gardner. Like, that was a piece of news we broke on here, whatever week we did, that he was...
broke.
Yeah, this is the number one news source right here. We talked about on here that he was supposed to play it. Somebody said that he looked like Bruce Wayne, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then I looked and I said, oh my God, that guy looks actually like Bruce Wayne. He's like taller, he's got the black hair. He just got big Bruce Wayne energy. Mm-hmm. I feel like he would be a good counter for David Cornsweet too. I've seen him act in some things. He's got that closed off loner, but can also play billionaire playboy. So he could be that could be the reason they could have scrapped him and been like, you're actually going to beat Bruce Wayne. So thank you. But yeah, a lot of casting. The Nathan Fillion one is hilarious and a little concerning because obviously he talked about, I'm going to get my own guys. So I'm cool with that. This whole idea that James Gunn is some horrible person for getting the people he knows, as if people like Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino don't do the same exact thing. It's right. Just absolutely the most nuts thing I've ever heard. But yeah, I like the three actors that they picked. Where they're going with this, my second point was, it's the Authority in the room. Is the Authority are also supposed to be in this movie, and the way he's going to play them, the Authority is they're a big deal. They're supposed to be a big staple of this universe. So you're getting the Authority. You're getting essentially the first iteration of the Justice League. You're getting Lex Luthor, and then you're getting the Daily Planet crew, and then this is supposed to be the Superman, first outing. It's not first outing, but Superman, about to hit his stride. So that's a lot of movie in one movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's I kind of gave you my pitch to make it work. I think you play this as, there's heroes around, there's people in this world already existing. The government kind of put forward this team called the Authority with some superpowered figures to kind of, handle situations. And then these other actual heroes step in there and just you guys are warmongers essentially. And then the god of them kind of ascends onto them. And they kind of, this whole movie is going to be about is this guy gonna murder everybody, or is it? Oh no, it's just Batman versus Superman. It's Superman versus the Authority.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot of movie.
James Gunn has built up enough goodwill that I trust.
Yep.
Trust the process. But I mean, Warner Brothers is a powerful entity, so that doubt is always going to be in my mind of like how much influence are they ultimately going to have.
Is James going to override it, or what's going to happen? So
right.
I think again the only way I can see this movie working is if he directs this movie. I feel like at this point, if you're getting all these people in, I mean, he's getting his friend Nathan Fillion. I feel like he needs to be the person that's behind the camera for this. I don't see anybody, unless it's somebody he like infinitely trusts. Like, I don't really see anybody else being
Sean Gunn.
Sean Gunn's gonna be in this movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's no way Sean Gunn's not in this movie. Well, he's just gonna play the Weasel in this movie. Oh, and then, I mean, to link this to the Blue Beetle thing, so they are hard stop that Blue Beetle is the first character in the DCU.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it one bit.
Card subject to change.
Yeah, I just think that Blue Beetle should have been the last axe. And it's unfortunate because you obviously want to try to get sequels, but you start with Superman, like just have this be the first thing, and then you grow based off that. You saw the Vigilante thing. That Vigilante's also going to be in the DCU. Like, who's where? Like, I don't understand how this is working.
And I also, again, I'm going to repeat this refrain until I die, probably. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, like, I mean, not nobody, but, like, general audiences don't care. They don't care what's the DCU, what's the DCEU, who's going to be in what the next thing is. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't. Like
at one point in time, I think there was a place where it's like the whole idea was to get more people to care. That was like that 2013 to 2019
Marvel was
range.
doing it, yeah. Marvel was doing
that
it.
Like 7-year range. Like that was it. That was like, this is the whole point. Is like people are gonna go research this stuff. Like I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Did you see the Marvel, like the crackpot Marvel Phase 4 theory?
About what?
That all of those movies take place in different dimensions.
I'm not buying it. Just not buying it. Because Miss Marvel takes place in Maine. Shang-Chi definitely takes place in Maine.
That we know about.
The only one that doesn't have anything to do with anything is the Eternals. But then Arishem showed up. And they talked about Thanos. Well, shut up, whoever made that theory. Horrible theory.
But it's just the fact that, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
What's this big wave of... I mean, we can kind of end it with this. Because at some point, the DCU is going to launch into their multiverse thing. I don't have a doubt that they're going to launch into it to do... Because, I mean, of anything, they're the more famous ones for doing the multiverse stuff, especially with, like, the Flash stuff and then the Earth 2 or 3 stuff. When did we get this huge, place for multiverse stuff? Like, that's just the thing now. I'm thinking in Hollywood, like, where a thing kind of overtook. I mean... Obviously, when the computer kind of was invented and started getting popular, like, the 90s had a lot of, like, computer-esque things were, like, a big narrative pieces for this. Like, this is, like, it feels like so many projects have to do with, like, an alternate version of yourself or an alternate world. Like, that's just the kind of the mainstay.
Did Spider-Man... Was it Into the Spider-Verse?
No, I don't think Into the Spider... Not that it wasn't big enough.
No, I know Days of Future Past did this.
But it's probably one of the better versions of it.
Exactly. Which is why everyone was like, oh, this can work. Like, when you bring back... They just substituted, like, multiverse for bring back old characters and to put them into things.
Well, again, it's, conspiracy stupid theory me. Again, what's the best episode of Black Mirror, if I were to ask you?
The best episode of Black Mirror.
Man, answer it for you. It's the what's his name that played Dr. Doom in Fant Four Stick?
Oh yeah.
Toby Kebbell, whatever his name is. The nostalgia episode is, in my opinion, the best episode. And once the No Way Home hype died off, and I was like, this first half of the movie, again, I keep saying it, it doesn't feel like an actual movie. It just feels like things that are happening in a studio to get to this point. And, like, I started watching more and more stuff, and I'm like, something just feels off about all this stuff that keeps happening. And, all these things that need to fit people into this different thing, like, and then I started seeing, like, the Multiverse of Madness stuff started happening, and I'm like...
The Multiverse of Madness stuff just took on a mind of its own.
And then, alright, so let's add another, equation into the pot. The conspiracy, like, the theory thing. The theory thing, yeah. Once WandaVision hit, 2020 hit, the theory crafting kind of murdered the superhero, because, the other point that we started making was, like, it feels like I'm seeing the majority of these projects before they even get marketing.
Well, we just got done doing that with Deadpool.
Exactly. Like, I feel like I've already seen a piece, like, the organicness of, like, me sitting in the theater and being genuinely, like, nothing will ever top Captain America picking up that hammer.
Also, I mean, in Deadpool's defense, like, people always go, why don't these superhero movies shoot on location? This is why.
Yeah.
This is why they don't.
Yep.
Because stuff gets leaked right away.
Right away, yep.
That's why. That's why these things don't get shot on location. Because...
And also, there wasn't a market for this in, like, in, like, social media in, like, 2012. There's no market for this.
No.
This is the market now to do stuff like this, to talk about stuff like this is now.
The Black Adam made money off of that very premise.
Black Adam made money off the fact that it's just, like, a new thing in this universe is about to, like, what happened to the actual...
Black Adam literally made money because they were like, Superman shows up at the end of it.
What happened to the movies? Like, genuinely, like, what happened to just the movies? Like, what happened to just making a movie to make a movie?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to my point I made last week about the product versus art. Like, it just feels like we're just getting product now.
So I'm saying, like, I'm telling you, man, Marvel, if you're listening, I know you are, Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say who the Fantastic Four is until the movie comes out.
Just be phenomenal. Be great. Don't throw any cameos in that movie. Just have it be the movie.
Yeah.
Just have it be the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my concern. That's my one concern about I saw all these castings, and obviously this isn't a multiverse thing, but it just feels like a lot. Like, what about a Superman movie that's about Superman?
Why is Superman and Lois so good?
It's so... I was just about to say that. I'm on episode 6 of Superman and Lois season 3, and I'm like,
cooking.
This show is just good because it's just a show about a family.
They have some fun stuff.
They have fun stuff. They do Superman stuff. Tyler Hoechlin's,
but we also talked about in season 1 the John Henry Irons thing is amazing.
It's a genuine reveal. You're John Henry Irons from the comics, but it's not like, it had to be there's no reliance. I think that's a big thing, is like the crutch that they're using is like, oh, well, now you're going to get other people to come back. As much as a stupid shill as we are, of like, we love this stuff, like the other, the Scorsese, my brain's split into two. I have the pretentious version of me, and then I have the shill version of me. So the shill version of me is like, holy crap, that's Hugh Jackman from my childhood. And the pretentious version of me is like, cool, but what's this movie gonna be about?
But again, Deadpool is almost immune from it.
Yeah. If there was a project to do this, it's Deadpool.
Yeah. The Flash is the biggest perpetrator of this. At least at this point. Like, I don't even think the Doctor Strange stuff is as bad as what the Flash did.
Nope. Not even close. And we always say it, I think Doctor Strange is actually pretty solid. And I think Doctor Strange could be on the border of being a pretty solid, good Marvel movie.
What drags it down
is the Illuminati stuff. You cut that stuff, like the stuff with them, like, like going through like the motions of universe hopping, and then like, I quite enjoy that the Strange versus Strange bit. People didn't like, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, they're fighting with music. Yeah. This is hilariously crazy. Dream walking, you hypocrite. Like, give me that stuff. Like, that's fun.
Yeah. But, so, like, if anything, the weakest part of Multiverse of Madness was the multiversal fan insertion stuff.
Yep, and it takes away from, like, what Sam Raimi was, because, like, one of the, big things that I liked about because it felt stylized. Like, it felt like, and like, I say that about, bits in Shang-Chi, even bits in Eternals, like, it feels like somebody's at the helm of this thing versus, like, an actual, but then there's bits where I'm like, feels like somebody had to stick their hand in and be like, just tilt it a little bit so you can get it this way. Like, leave me alone. Like, you're just trying to cook for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the shows that they've done have been sort of reliant on insertion stuff.
Well, they took the thing that made WandaVision, and then, like, it even went down to their social media teams understanding that. They were like, well, who could the power broker be? Like,
they're doing it right now with Secret Invasion, too.
Yep. Yeah. It's just, what happened to the movies, man? What happened to the stories? But like, just what happened to like us just telling one thing to tell one thing? Because,
and like you said, I mean, we're going to talk about it, Mission Impossible next time, but you know, Mission Impossible does have in the same, you know, they're both cruise movies, but in the same way that Top Gun Maverick had callbacks to the previous thing, but they were done so in a way that like, that's the difference, is when they weave into the story that the movie's telling, it works.
mm-hmm.
Like Multiverse of Madness, it doesn't work. The Flash, it definitely doesn't work. But Mission Impossible, Top Gun, Indiana Jones, to some extent, it works, but they don't, we talked about last week, they don't hit it hard enough.
Yeah.
When they could have. It's just about, I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home
mm-hmm.
does it well. And if anything, Spider-Man No Way Home has the reverse problem where they actually executed the callbacks and the multiversal stuff really well. It was just you sacrificed the actual movie making your first half because you were so focused on the second half being money. You're like, you still and it was.
The second half. I will always sing the praises of that second half of that movie is absolutely, and not just like, you know, the Aunt May death scene is incredibly done. The scene on the rooftop with them, I think, is the best scene in that entire movie. Like, You're hitting all these beats so freaking well. It's just that first half, again, it just doesn't feel... It feels wrong. Like, it feels like a mess that first half. It feels like an auto-generated mess that first half. So,
it just doesn't go anywhere, really.
No. So, and that is the casting. That's the news. So much news.
That's the news.
I'm still super excited for Superman
Me too.
Legacy.
Yeah, like I said, if I'm willing to give James Gunn
this feels like what James Gunn has been working like he's
his magnum opus.
Yeah, like this is like the thing that he's been working towards is like I get to tell a Superman, like in James Cornsweet, I've been watching some of the clips from his shows, like that's Superman. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like he's got it. Like he's got the thing.
You know, I said this the whole time leading up to The Flash. I just get a little bit nervous when it comes to Warner Brothers and DC. They haven't proven it.
Somebody's got to like put up, you know, like in The Bear, they have in season 2. It's a big plot point. Like every second counts, like on the clock. They need to put in Warner Brothers a plaque that says "relax." Just like when Aaron, remember when the Packers were, what were they? They were like
2-6.
2-6. Yeah. RELAX. Relax. Just relax.
Yeah. And you don't have to compete with Marvel.
No, there's no competing. Of anything, we talked about it, like, your solo projects were so good. Like, your solo projects were what were kind of keeping you alive up until that point.
And then they started sucking.
And then what did you bring in? You brought in James Gunn, and he kind of revitalized you guys at that last, you know, the last piece of your universe. He kind of injected the last bit of life. And then you're here with him, and, you know, this is kind of his show to run with Peter Safran, so just relax. Just relax.
Swear to God, they're going to tell him to... I'm telling you, they're going to tell him to put Batman in it. Watch. It's going to happen. Like, why don't you put Batman in this?
No.
Give George Clooney a call.
Nope.
No, I will not.
You know who they need to give the call to. I'm really into the... I think that's his name, Finn, or whatever his name is.
Finn Wolfhard.
Nope. Finn Whitlock, I think is his name. I'm really kind of subscribing to the fact that he could be... He has a perfect counter to David Cornsweet, but Jensen Ackles would just destroy it as Batman. Especially Batman with a son. I don't know why Jensen Ackles, because he already had a son in Homelander in The Boys Season 3, so...
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be on board for that. Man. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see with all these things. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes posted Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know. Whenever we do them at this point. It's been a hectic last couple weeks.
Yeah, it has.
And it's only going to get more hectic.
I ordered my 3-piece breakaway suit for the Barbenheimer day. It's going to be a 1940s suit with a monocle that's going to break into the same outfit that Ken was wearing. It's going to be great.
What's going on with Ryan Gosling? What's happening with Ryan Gosling?
He's cooking.
Is he... What's his deal?
In the movie?
In life right now.
He's just Well, he is the Sigma male of life.
Is he method acting now? What's happening? Are you sure?
No, Ryan Gosling is the product of...
Is he going to be the villain?
No.
Of this movie?
No, I hope not. That would kind of stink. I just hope he's just like the guy that's there. Like, that's the whole point. Like, Ken's also there.
He's got a song?
He's got it. Oh, they should have waited. They should not have let that, because the Peaches song from Super Mario, like, that was so popular because it just came out, like, we watched the movie, we're like, dude, what's going on? But yeah, he was like a staple of, like, you know, like, he kind of owned the 2010s. I can rip off the movies he did in the 2010, like, even from, like, 2005 to, like, now, like, last, like, 18 years of his life has just been nuts.
Yeah, he was, like, the actor.
Yeah, man, you can go for the movies he had, like, I mean, he's in 3 of my favorite movies of all time.
The Notebook.
Yep. That's one.
That's one.
He's in Place Beyond the Pines, Blade Runner.
Remember the Titans.
Cooking, man.
La La Land,
yep,
obviously.
Yep. Let's go back. So, yeah, what did you start with? The Notebook?
The Mickey Mouse Club.
Yep.
Young Hercules.
You're going backwards. I'm going forwards. Let's start with Remember the Titans. So 2000, he can't cover anybody. He sucks. He's a liability in the field. Then you go to The Notebook. He's hitting his heartthrob stage. He does a little, you know, little Lars and the Real Girl was like a little indie project.
Crazy Stupid Love. Rom-com.
Yep. A Drive in 2011. So 2011 alone. I love how this episode divulged into basically a Ryan Gosling episode.
Good.
So in 2011, he does The Ides of March, Crazy Stupid Love, and Drive, all in the same year. So, not bad. 2012, he does Place Beyond the Pines, one of my personal favorite movies of all time. 2013, he does Gangster Squad, so he's just getting more famous and more famous. 2015, he does The Big Short. 2016, Nice Guys, and La La Land in the same year. 2017, he does Blade Runner. 2018, he plays Neil Armstrong. And now, 2022... he was in The Gray Man, so big Netflix movie, and now he's Ken. So not too shabby, boss.
Pretty good, Ryan Gosling.
Pretty dang good.
Follow us on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you. Next time you hear us, it'll be our Mission Impossible review.
Or will it be us?
Or we Scrolls.
No, not yet. It's like, come on.
Yeah, because as you can see, this episode we couldn't do Mission Impossible in this episode.
Yeah, there's too much stuff to talk about.
Too much stuff
we had to
happening.
talk about the Napoleon trailer.
We had to talk about the Napoleon trailer.
I just want a geolocation of where he's from. That's my only question about that movie.
Does Timothy Chalamet have silly guy energy?
Is he a silly guy? Is Blue Beetle gonna work? Can James Cameron keep getting away with this? That's the question.
Is Dune actually a secret prequel to Wonka?
Oh yeah, because the chocolate is just the spice. The chocolate evolved into the spice. The Oompa Loompas evolved into the Fremen.
Oh,
it's the same concept. It's 2 fanatical legions that worship this man. That's Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet of the Harkonnens. You earned all this smoke, brother.
No.
I can't wait to talk about Secret Invasion. I can't wait.
Have you lost?
Oh, man. We're going to do an episode on the train scene alone.
It's crazy.
You know where to find me, Talos. What is Sam Jackson is so detached from Nick Fury at this point.
Love it. He's just Sam Jackson.
He's just Sam Jackson now.
We gotta go, man.
Yeah, we do gotta go. I got so much to pull from this week. The Napoleon of the podcast.
I don't like it.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't like
it. Let's see. Who we got? The Metamorpho of the podcast?
Don't know how I like it.
Nope. I don't know.
We literally talked about the Emmys.
Yeah. The bear of the podcast.
Oh, I'll take it.
That's where we'll land on.
And the last thing I'll say for my Bear fans, I like Taylor Swift. It was just becoming a lot. They'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They'll know.
Okay, man.
They'll know.
If you say so.
They'll know.
All right, guys. We'll see you later this week for Mission Impossible. Until then, goodbye.
Peace.